Welcome to the show. Geek Insider presents Into the GeekVerse, the place to get an inside look at movies, comics, games, tech, and everything exciting going on in the GeekVerse. Join Matthew Harris and David King as they take a deeper look at the good, the bad, and the downright terrible things our GeekVerse has to offer. With live chat, geek news, special guests, and lots more. So sit back, relax, and join us for a peek into the GeekVerse.
We are back from a short holiday break. Hope y'all are staying warm. Tonight on episode 23 of Into the GeekVerse, we're going to be talking about James Gunn and DC. Now, I know we've talked a lot about James Gunn before, but if you're a nerd about DC like me and Matthew are, you don't want to miss this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with James Gunn here lately since being named the co-head of DC. But of course, folks, I got to mention Colgate is the official sponsor of Into the Geekverse, and we'll hear a little bit more about them or from them later.
So if y'all missed it, there's been some major news in DC that's been coming out. James Gunn and Peter Safran has been named co-chairman and CEOs of DC Studios. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk about what that means and the ideas that we want to put out there with the big change in DC that they're having, especially as Matthew said, we've mentioned James Gunn before. He's done projects with DC, Marvel. He's been a little bit all over the place, and we're huge fans of his work. And the potential for seeing him in this movie comic book is just substantial. And I can't wait to see what he's going to be popping out.
Yeah, because, dude, I mean, like you said, we've covered James Gunn before. And we went through the name of the show, and I forget the episode number, but it was James Gunn movies that you probably haven't seen. But the man has been in the industry for a good little bit. And he's got some really off the wall things in his resume, and I think personally, and you already know that you're of the same mind. But once you see the versatility that he has had throughout his whole career, and we're going to get to this of what that means for or could mean for the direction of DC. Because my man, I know I've made you watch some stuff. I didn't make you watch this. I doubt very seriously you've seen any of this stuff. But it is cult classic, and it's called The Toxic Avenger. Now, he didn't do Toxic Avenger, but have you heard of or ever watched any of the Toxic Avenger movies?
No, I haven't.
Okay, they are cornball. This is back in 80s is when I think it started, but they call him Toxie. He's a teenager. He gets radioactive fluid all over him, and he turns into a superhero. Well, James Gunn wrote a book, actually, and it's called Everything I Needed to Know, or Everything I Know About Filmmaking I Learned from Toxic Avenger, or Everything I Needed to Know. That's what it was. Well, in 96, he was one of several screenplay writers for one that takes place in that world, and it's called Tromeo and Juliet, because it all happens in Tromaville, and Tromaville is it's kind of like Archie Comics, what they did. Right, I forget the name of it. What they did on Netflix or whatever, where it was weird stuff. But anyway, so yeah, he did that, and then he was also the director of this satire short about the dangers of masturbation.
I wonder if that has anything to do. I pulled up on IMDb, and actually at the end of his list on IMDb is like 8 episodes of PG porn.
Yeah, and that's on here too, and that's for everybody that loves porn loves porn except for the sex or something like that.
You can watch it for the plot.
I gotta find that somewhere, because that's just a cool concept. But then the very first one, we both watched it. His first quote unquote mainstream movie or whatever. It was a superhero movie, and it's called The Specials. He was the writer and character. He played Minuteman in it. And it's a funny little quip on the superhero genre. They're the 6th or 7th best superhero team in the world, and they're trying to find their rightful place in the competitive world of superheroes. And they're supposed to be getting their toy line, and it's crazy stuff. But there's so much reminiscent of Suicide kind of Suicide Squad, all kinds of different movies and comics.
James Gunn's done a lot more than I'm aware of, and for the younger side of our audience that follows along with me, there's a lot of stuff and even some indies that I wouldn't have watched without Matthew's help, and I would definitely check these out and give them a look through. Because, like Matthew said, he is definitely very versatile. Because, of course, I'm sure most of y'all are immediately thinking about the ones that he's done, like you mentioned, Suicide Squad. One of the biggest ones is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But other than these really action-packed ones, superhero kind of things, he's got a lot more to show, which is really good. And I'm very interested to see if he can bring that to the table with DC without too many other people trying to stifle or whatever's been happening with DC, because you've got great potential with the content, and then for some reason we just haven't been able
we get a good one, we get a bad one, we get a decent one, we get a really terrible one. But we'll get more into that in a minute. Because again, the versatility, he's also done horror. Have you seen 13 Ghosts?
No.
Okay, that's one for you and the girlfriend to watch. He did additional writing on this. He's uncredited, but it's in his IMDb. And I'm not going to tell the storyline. It's a great horror movie, but since he just did an additional writing, I don't say this is a James Gunn movie. But then the man did the first Scooby-Doo movie, the first one and the second one. He was the writer and director, director of the first one and the writer of the second.
And I think those were the biggest ones that blew up from my what I remember. I mean, being young and really getting into Scooby-Doo, you had the animations and then you had the movie. And so it's really nice to see that first and the second one. I hope y'all probably should know what we're talking about if you are in fact a geek. And that speaks a little bit already towards where he's come from, moving up to where he is now.
Yeah, and then though, he's not always he doesn't always hit it out of the park. I mean, people are on both sides of the fence on the Suicide Squad. We'll talk about in a minute. But this next one, man, I am a fan of the original Dawn of the Dead. It is a classic. Yes, it's campy compared to now, but he did this one, man. He rewrote wrote a new version of Dawn of the Dead. I was super, super excited. All I'm going to say is it's watchable once if you want to laugh at stuff. Ving Rhames is in it. It is the zombies and everybody's in the mall. And they're not everybody, but this one group is trapped in the mall with a lot of zombies. I just wasn't a fan of it. But it is worth a watch. He did the next one he did is called Lolly Love. It's a mockumentary about a wealthy couple that's trying to make a difference in homeless people's lives. And then another horror. In 2006, he did Slither. Have you guys seen that one?
I haven't, but I've seen it pop up a lot. It looks like one of his bigger achievements.
Yeah, and they ended up doing like 2 different follow-up behind the scenes, and then a whole. If you look on his IMDb, there's 3 entries for Slither. And that's a good one for you and Marissa to watch. And then in 2008, our man starts trying to break into TV, but he's just not successful. He did a TV pilot called Sparky and Michaela, and it was none other than a
it's going to be
superhero.
interested when you hear Sparky in the name.
Well, it was, and get this, it's a ridiculous superhero TV series. It featured a duet of a Wonder Woman type character and a raccoon with special powers. Now, was this some foreshadowing?
Yeah, right.
I saw that and I was like, what the hell? Was he already a Guardians fan? Were they talking to him about Guardians back then? And he got drunk one night and was like, this would be funny. And now I want to see that pilot to see how much he is like Rocket in Guardians. That could be something very interesting for the show. And then he's got a sense of humor, bro. He did another TV pilot in 2008. Sean Gunn, his brother, is in it, which I failed to mention earlier. He's in a lot of it. And I don't think I uploaded. Really? Yeah, hang on just a second. If I have it. You're going to know him as soon as you see him. Oh, come on. Yeah, here it is. But yeah, he is in tons and tons of stuff. Yeah. What's his name on Guardians? But he is in, yeah. And I think I notated every time that Sean's in there, but he was in a couple of the earlier ones. Maybe not. But anyway, so this next one he did was called Humanzi. It was a chimpanzee and man hybrid, and Sean was the title character. I should have grabbed the picture of it, bro, because it looked ridiculous. You can tell why it was only a pilot. And then that same year is when he did that PG porn, and that has several episodes. But it was for people who love everything about porn except the sex. That was the tagline on that son of a bitch. Now next, I'm going to let you take the lead on. Well, it was Super, the one that has Rainn Wilson from Office, or The Office. It's the one where his wife, she gets she falls for Kevin Bacon, the drug dealer, and so the dude starts transforms himself or starts going by the name Crimson Bolt and starts beating the shit out of people. He's just a normal guy, but he just starts beating the ever-loving hell out of criminals. You hadn't watched that one? I thought you did.
No, I mean, there's something similar. There's it's like Kick-Ass, and then there's also Dragonfly or something. It's like off the wall with that, but I don't think I've seen that one.
If I'm not mistaken, it's in our shared collection. I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay.
Next up, did you ever play the Lollipop Chainsaw game?
For a quick moment when they were doing the whole giving demos, I believe on Xbox, and I think it was around the same time as one of the Dead games, and I think I downloaded it, and I mean, it was hugely successful. From what I've heard, people always talking about it, and I think it was the horror video game and like kind of comedy, just kind of stupid.
I never played it, but I know.
I think it was a good, refreshing kind of take for a video game, because from that point, video gaming was becoming such a big thing, and people were trying to be very serious about it, and sometimes that took away fun for other people. So that definitely has a lot for him. I mean, horror, a little bit comedy. Video games itself is difficult itself. It's not like right now a movie or anything.
And I want to know, I don't know about video games, but being listed as the writer, did he write all of her scripting and everything? I would assume so. And if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look it up to make sure, but it sure seems like they're releasing a new one or a remastered. That's what it is, a remastered edition. But next up is where it all started for a lot of people, Guardians of the Galaxy, writer and director of Guardians. And then one that you and I have talked about at least twice, maybe 3 times on this show, the Belko Experiment. I love that fucking movie.
Action, kind of horror thriller,
and comedy.
It's excellent for. I mean, like, dude, it has nothing to do with superheroes, but if you love the Guardians of the Galaxy and that kind of stuff,
mindless violence. And Sean Gunn's in that. He's one of the main characters that's going through. And folks, I tell you, he said I said mindless violence, and we're talking. What happens is a group of Americans are working overseas. They get trapped in their building. Big metal shutters come down, and there's like 100. What did I got here? 80 Americans. They get trapped in the building and have to bop their way out. They have to kill so many of each other, or more, double the amount's going to die. But then we had Guardians 2, the Suicide Squad. Love it or hate it. I got a good laugh out of it.
And going into Guardians 2, he was highly demanded for that movie. So I think this is, would you say, the start, like where it started to peak? People are demanding him. He's getting very relevant. He's getting pushed to do other things.
Well, was it between 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 that Marvel pulled away from him? I think it was 1 and 2. And they heard from all the fans going, no, it's got to be James Gunn. And then they brought him back. So you're right. That the demand was so great that the studio was like, oh, and this is like freaking Disney, so they listened to the people.
Yeah, which when we're going into the same period of time that Zack Snyder redid the Justice League was when I think right after that, I feel like it was the big moment that James Gunn got to do a redo on the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I know people hate on it.
Love it. Dude, I was one of 5 movies total in my life that I've pre-ordered.
Gotcha.
So I loved it, and I made her watch it. She loved it.
It's hilarious. I mean, yes, it's campy, not campy, but you can definitely see James Gunn's style in there. And then, of course, right behind that, he did Peacemaker, which is fucking hilarious.
I didn't think I'd like it, and I think that it is definitely a different take to what we're used to. But with that being said, this is the perfect introduction to the idea we're going to talk about later, what James Gunn can bring to DC as far as shows.
And dude, and look at the versatility again. He's flipping back and forth from Marvel to DC to Marvel. And that's how much in demand he was, because he's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. No one's has him to an exclusive rights. Because then next up after Peacemaker was something we just watched, a week and a half ago, before the holiday weekend, was the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I thoroughly enjoyed it. How about you?
Yeah, no, I really did. I think some of it was a little bit weird. Following the whole vibe of Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty good, and I knew that they were going to do the whole musical kind of thing. Musicals haven't really been my forte unless it's like in Disney, but it was pretty well balanced, and I did like it. But I gotta ask you while we're on this point, Mantis being his sister.
Yeah, I guess they're going to explain that in 3.
I hope. It was kind of really sudden, and I get the whole in Guardians, she says like he got her and but then also like it seems really, really she's so excited about it this time. Not only Trickstos, but like why wasn't she so excited in in the first time meeting him. I don't know, but moving on, it was really excellently directed, written, and stuff. There was a lot to consider, and for a short little holiday special, it was the exact pep that we needed. Especially a new holiday song. We're overdue.
And I went and looked up the holiday song immediately, and I saved it to my favorites so I could hear it again. But that spurred me and Brenda to go on and watch the others. We started at 1, and I'm not going to go into the storylines, but I got to bring this part up to you, dude, because it made both of us crack up laughing when Quinn gets to the ship for the first time, and he's got Gamora with him, and she comes in and she goes, "Quill, your ship is dirty." And she walks away, and he turns and looks.
If you had a black light.
Yeah, it looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude. That was an amazing money. And that I really liked how this goes into a lot of the writing. When you can take these little moments to get us to understand this character deeper and get a connection with them. That's exactly what they wanted, and they hook, line, sinker. Like, you got me on that fish hook with that bait.
Yeah, exactly. Because God Almighty, I cracked up. And then we're wrapping up the directorial stuff. We got Guardians 3 coming, and then and of course that's this year, right? It's coming out very soon. I think.
March.
Oh yeah, March. You're right. And then he's also done, he did one of the screenplay and writers. I don't know if this is live action or animated, because I just haven't seen anything else about it. And it's Coyote versus Acme. And so it is, the Coyote and Acme. And so then that's it on his resume right now, because, as you said, what did you say?
James Gunn and Peter Safran has been named co-chairman and CEO of DC Studios, which leads into the next part of what we were wanting to share with you guys is our ideas when what we're wanting to see DC moving forward from here. But while we're at the halfway mark, let's go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor.
That's exactly what I was going to say, my man. Here we go.
Hey everyone, it's a known fact that when brushing, most people miss up to 40% of their teeth. But thankfully, the Hum by Colgate has you covered. Hum by Colgate is a smart toothbrush and app combination that will give you and the kids sparkling smiles and more of them. Colgate is the official sponsor of Into the GeekVerse, and you can get into the rhythm of better brushing by heading over to shop.colgate.com. As an official insider, you can use discount code GEEK20 and get 20% off the Hum by Colgate. That's shop.colgate.com and discount code GEEK20.
All righty. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we said right before that break, we're going to be going over DC, the direction that we're wanting to see it go, some of the ideas that we're wanting to put out there. If you are listening to us right now, make sure to drop a comment below on any future shows that you may want to hear about, and we'll make sure to make that happen. Now, Matthew, before we go into a lot of this, I do have a question for you. Out of all of the TV shows and movies that we had just listed under James Gunn's belt, pick your number one favorite to share with our guests.
It's Belko Experiment for me.
I've got to say Suicide Squad, just because I think the redemption really, really gets me. And Belko Experiment is really good, and it's a movie that I wouldn't watch a trailer and then just go watch.
Right.
And it was that good after I watched it, and it's just
but you liked it before you.
Before I knew it was him.
Right.
But with Suicide Squad, I think that the amount of comedy, gruesome, the villain, how well we got to have a movie that was just free. There's no cheesy, I can't because it's not who I am, and it was just free. And I don't know, like I said, it was one of the only 5 movies in my entire lifetime that I pre-ordered. So guys, why don't y'all go ahead out of the list we've given you and drop a comment on what your favorite James Gunn.
Right. And my big thing is I've seen some people talk about, oh, he's going to reset DC. I don't think a full reset is in the cards for right now or 2023 because we got Cavill confirmed back as Superman. There's talk of Affleck returning as Batman.
Well, allegedly it's confirmed he's in Blue Beetle. Ben Affleck.
Yeah. That's right. And then they're bringing in Blue Beetle. If they're tying in Affleck with Blue Beetle, then that means it's still the continuity still going on, the cohesiveness.
And I don't think that they have confirmed what they're going to do with Flash yet. I mean, obviously the actor has been seriously putting a dent in this, but I don't think that it's been completely like, nope.
Oh no, they got too much money invested in that, and they did so many screenings and got it tweaked to where they think they love it, and then Ezra goes and fucks it up for everybody. But my thing is that he's been teasing some weird stuff on Twitter, man, and I've been sending it to you. He sent that picture, and it says "Getting Ready," and it is a picture of Kingdom Come. And which is the whole alt-verse kind of stuff, right? It's been forever since I even read the stuff, but...
Well, you sent me a different one, not that one.
No, I sent you two. There was one on Kingdom Come, and then there was one on the other one.
Let me see what I missed, obviously.
Right? Because I was like, whoa, that was one of the first things that he put out on Twitter. After taking over DC was this Kingdom Come, and a lot of people were like, "This means that it's a reset," and nothing.
Well, I see the Green Lantern making plans.
Yeah, but that's not Green Lantern. That's Kingdom Come. That is that's the direct artwork from Kingdom Come.
Oh, well, that's my bad. I was looking at the table, and in the background you've got all of the emblems of the lanterns and stuff, and so all right, I guess I moved past it. Yeah, I've never heard of Kingdom Come before.
It came out right after I got out of comics because somebody ripped off my shit. If you're out there in the audience, folks, and you know what the storyline is for Kingdom Come, drop a comment, let us know, because if I'm right, it's another Elseworlds type tale. It's not the mainstream, and we know that DC has already done this. We got the Batman, and then we got Batfleck, and we got Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and then we got the new Joker in the Batman, and so we know there is the multiverse already established in DC, or at least Elseworlds. They may not, they may coincide. Well, I guess they are going to coincide in the Flash if that ever comes out. And so, no, I don't think a reset's coming, but we're halfway through. You asked me what my favorite was on what he's done. What is your number one project that's not been teased or listed that you would like to see him, what DC project you would like to see him tackle first?
Easy. It was one of the conversations that we had previous to starting the show is a Nightwing movie. So me and Matthew talked a lot about Nightwing, and not specifically James Gunn, but we were talking about how easily he could be made into a movie, considering Batman's a really huge market. You've got a lot of movies out there, except for he's a lot more comedic. He's freestyle. He's interactive. He's, of course, Batman's very interesting, and he's got his brooding aspect, but having Nightwing in Bloodhaven and everything, there's a lot that could do. And you could even have little bits where if you wanted a Batman in it, or a Batgirl, if you wanted Robin, there's a lot that you could have taken the direction with. And there's easily plenty of interactive conflicts that
we both have.
Yeah, we both have the Nightwing. That's my number one movie that I really want him to hear out and think, okay, it's an easy money maker that people are going to be, because the trailer is going to be really enticing for people who don't really know who Nightwing is or anything. And I think it's a really easy money maker. Like, it's not like you have to have a bunch of CGI.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
obviously some, make it look very crisp and clean, but it's not like you're needing a whole section to be CGI'd or anything like that.
Right.
You could do him's black mask coming in territory, his weapons and everything. I don't know, but it's just something that I really, really want to see. And I think if anybody could pull it off, it would be James Gunn. He knows how to make it comedic. He's established good superhero stuff. The dark kind of point, like if you make his conflict in his story go really bad, kind of not full horror, but throw a little bit of his magic from that
Right.
into it, he would really be able to make us feel all those emotions in this short span, understand who he is, what his conflict is, why we have to be distraught that he's going through this, and then overcome with joy when we are empowered by him being able to overcome the obstacles and everything. Like, he's the one to be able to write this story and make us feel through all of that. There's a lot of different ones that are out there that I would have never thought that they would have put movies out, like Shazam or anything. Obviously you can, but like, I don't think that a lot of people knew about it and stuff. And this is the time we start making the movies about those lesser characters. Blue Beetle's already got one of
Exactly.
the
That segues right into mine. You wanted Nightwing, and he's more mainstream. My one that I have been wanting for a while is a villain, and I think the Batman is the perfect place for him. You've got the new Joker, and you've got Riddler. Both are batshit crazy. We need the ventriloquist. I
remember we were talking about that.
And
now,
folks, go ahead.
My question is, you want the ventriloquist? Do you see it more successful as a movie or a series, kind of like Marvel, where they're putting these 6-episode really great ones out? Because that's going to be one of my questions once you're done with this. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But do you see it as more of a full movie, or would you see it more of like a series?
Well, I don't think that they could do the psychoticness and the machine gunning and stuff do it justice on TV, on a series. If he's not in the Batman, then bring him out. They're using the same characters in all the Batman movies. They use the same 4 or 5 rogues from the Rogues Gallery. The Batman villains stretch far and wide. There's some really kick-ass ones, and the ventriloquist has always been one of mine. And folks, if you don't know who the ventriloquist is, he's this old man. His name's Arthur, I think.
That sounds right.
Arnold Wesker. But he is he has PTSD, whatever, the dual personality syndrome. And his second, and that does come out in other comics that he has other ones, but his alter ego is Scarface. And it's this little mafia doll that looks like from back in the 40s. And he's like, yeah, see, you got a cigar, and he's got a machine gun. Well, he forces Arthur or Arnold to do killing, and it is a crime boss. People are scared of Scarface. They address Scarface. They don't address the guy. And I just think that psychoticness, it's something that people could, look at Split and Glass and Split and Glass, that we can see that multi-personality and how dangerous and scary that can be. And a trident of Joker, Riddler, and the ventriloquist, man, they could really put Batman through the ringer.
Yeah, I mean, going through that kind of stuff is exactly what we're talking about, James Gunn, and what we can see. Getting a little bit into what we see about DC moving forward, like direction-wise as a company, I would like to see, and guys, you can yell at me all you want in the comments if you would like, they need to kind of chase tail with Marvel. We need to get these movies and like TV shows. It's extremely popular. Star Wars, Marvel got these episodes of really high quality, low count, like 6 or so. Like, I'm digging it now. I'm at that pace where I want to see more characters, big movie quality. And if you can put that in a 6-episode little thing, then that would be great, especially if you're too worried about trying to spend time on a movie shoot on a character that you don't know. It can be done like a whole movie.
Well-
like, for instance, I guess before I say which one I could see in a TV series, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say that I think the quality in a lot of the ways with Disney and the Marvel stuff, the 6 episodes, we are getting movie quality. We're getting a 6-hour movie, and so
Well, yeah, but I just mean the time, as in like production and hiring people and flying them out, like, and doing all this stuff. And I would assume that like the TV series is kind of more. I don't know. I'm not obviously not in the production or anything like that, but I would assume that if you're gonna make like, for instance, Peacemaker, he did it. It was a TV show, extremely well, fairly sure, but you didn't want to make a full movie of him doing whatever. Like, I'm assuming the same reasons of that would also make a good reason for Cyborg. Obviously, having a full blown movie or anything like that, I mean, maybe you're afraid of people losing interest. But if as a TV series, I feel like it would give us enough for him, like leading up to going to the Teen Titans, and like I feel like he could be a very easy one to put in as a series to go. I mean, he used to be a football star. He had his life changed. Now he's doing the best he can. And the struggles of him having to go through what we've only barely touched in like Justice League or anything. It's a little bit hard because of Justice League, but it's just an example of it. Maybe it wouldn't have to be of his accident, but maybe it's just maybe after that, get the same actor after that. What is he doing? What is, is he really going to jump into superheroing full time with the Justice League? Is there going to be an interim and you make a little series where maybe he lives in his neighborhood and he sees stuff goes down and he realizes that he can't sit back on the sidelines anymore or something,
But what would you think of, since we know Batfleck is back, we know, or I think there's another Aquaman. Yeah, isn't there another Aquaman coming or not? Anyway, we know that the Justice League world still exists. What would you think about the original Cyborg from those movies getting like a 6-hour, 6-episode Moon Knight? I just thought of this right now. That could be kick-ass if you continue on with that portrayal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like do an interim, like after that team up or whatever. He goes through like he never wanted to be a superhero or whatnot, and then leading up to when he does need to be with the Justice League, what he goes through.
Oh, you're talking about a prequel kind of thing.
Well, I'm talking about a sequel to Justice League, but because you got to think, Justice League started off where he was a football star. He went in, he got traumatized, changed his life. Wonder Woman convinced him to help the Justice League, but he wasn't in it. So right after that battle, he's probably like, okay, how do I live with my life? He didn't plan on becoming a superhero, but then obviously these conflicts come up where he turns to like, I can't ignore this. And what better way than for me to be with the Justice League, Watchtower, whatever, looking over people, and then getting
I like
into
that idea.
Next
I like that idea a lot.
I think there's a lot of characters that can do that too. Like if there's other Justice League members that you want to grow upon, and you just start with a series, see if the fans really love them, putting them in there, and go from there. Like for instance, Dr. Fate. He came in, he was already in the movie though and everything, but he was an extremely easy one to make a series or a movie for that I could see James Gunn do. It would obviously have to be before Black Adam, but still, like there's a lot that Dr. Fate can bring, similar to Doctor Strange. You're going to have to do a lot of CGI, so I can understand why maybe that one wouldn't be immediate, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of options on the table for you to make these little, and to what you were saying about the Justice League and everything like that, seeing more of Ben Affleck may open my eyes up. And if he has a small appearance in there or something where he goes to Cyborg, says whatever his brooding thing on like, we need you, but I'm not going to say we need you, I'm just going to point out why when you're not helping what happens, whatnot. having a little cameo would be good, having him in it. But because I know we're going to take a good minute to talk about this, I've got to say, we talked about villains, and you were saying allegedly something may be in the works. I would love to see James Gunn taking over Lobo. That is a free reign movie that's dark, it's villainous, that you could make a lot of money. People who don't know who he is, people who want to see that mindless violence, but he's like that kind of, it's dark humor that he's got. It would be an easy movie maker. Series, I think no, it would need to be a movie, and it would need to be just balls to the wall. It needs to be rated R. Dark comedy. It needs to be, like I would like to see James Gunn nail that with his history of horror, the superhero. Like he's not a superhero, but you know what I mean. That kind of
he's an anti-hero. Yeah,
yeah.
This was my number 2 of but they have to go with the original Lobo. When they did the New 52, they retconned him or did something to him and made him some little punk rocker or something. I didn't even read one, but I did just look it up. It is still showing as in production, and it is the classic main man himself. I love Lobo so much, bro, that I stole a word from him I use all the time, and that's bastage. These bastages won't do it. It's because bastard and bitches together. But yeah, I've used that forever. And a quick story on Lobo, was at a comic book shop. I used to work there, and every Tuesday or whatever, the boxes of comics would come in, the new shipment. Well, we open up this box of comics, dude, and it smells like 40,000 people farted. What it was a Lobo comic with a scratch and sniff armpit that smelled like sulfur. It stank to high fucking heaven, bro. It was horrible. And I think he ended up giving them away just to get them the hell out the store. And I wish I still had one. You could probably find them online, but I would have liked to have sealed it and kept it like that, because I mean that was 25 years ago or something. But yeah, that was hilarious.
It's got to be worth now. But I want to hear from you. Walk me through your ideal Lobo movie.
I would really, with Cavill back, I'd love a Superman Lobo. They had
versus, they do a little battle, versus. And then they have to go together to do something else.
Yeah, I forget the storyline, but in the comic books they do battle, and Lobo gives Superman a fight or a run for his money.
I just think from a direction from DC, I think they'd be too scared to do a straight Lobo versus Superman, because the fans being like, you're really going to make Superman not be able, because they don't understand who Lobo is. I feel like the fans would probably be like, you're really going to make it be like Superman has a hard time fighting, when all reality, Lobo is like unpredictable. He's a dick. He's, he'll put all the short stops to beat you. Like, Superman will have a hard time with him.
And if you don't know who Lobo is, I showed you the picture. If you're listening on the podcast, he is an intergalactic bounty hunter. He goes planet to planet to hunt down people that have bounties on their heads. And he drives a space Harley. It's not a Harley, but a space chopper. He's got a big skull for his belt buckle.
You can see some of this in our thumbnail image. I tried to grab a pretty nice one.
And one of my favorite comics, and I looked it up the other day, I'm actually going to order it. It's Lobo versus Santa Claus. Epic comic. Santa Claus is a pretty badass little motherfucker. But somebody, the Tooth Fairy or somebody, puts a bounty out on Santa Claus. And so, yeah, there's a lot of good source material, but I do think Superman, Batman versus, and that could lead into kind of like Black Adam. He's bad at first. He's fighting Superman. Something kind of changes his mind where he's like, all right, Superman ain't so bad. And he helps him do something. And then we get led into a Lobo movie and go out into space. Let's go to other planets. Let's see him going and still being a bounty hunter, but he might not just be I don't know. I don't want him to tone down Lobo. I don't want him to make him go, oh, and hand Superman flowers. But I do want them to have to team up, and that introduces us to Lobo, puts us off the end of the movie. But it looks like they're going to do the introduction first in a solo movie.
What I would see probably better, or what I would see happening would be Lobo. He comes in, he's got a bounty. Superman is stopping him, is interrupting him.
The bounty's on Superman.
But
he's the last Kryptonian. Somebody puts a hit out on Superman in the comic.
No, but I mean the movie wise, because I don't know if they're really going to go full out Lobo versus Superman. But I do see if Superman comes in and they start fighting, then later at the end we discover after all that Lobo says some remark that makes Superman and Batman think, or Superman think. Superman goes to Batman and says, I can't shake it. This guy I was fighting, he mentioned this thing. And then Batman goes to look it up, which gives us a hint towards a bigger villain that we'll see another Justice League collab to take down. I could see that because they're really good, Marvel, DC, and stuff. I love when movies do movies ahead of time that one person says something that makes one of the heroes think, and then they look up, and it doesn't tell us the name, but it shows us just enough for us to gather who it is, who they're talking about, who's going to be the big villain coming up.
Well, and there's already
or something.
Well, there's already the source material for that. But if they do it this way, bro, it's going to be like the Martha moment, because Superman is the last Kryptonian and Lobo is the last Sarzarian. Or Sarzian, I don't know how to say it. They're both the last of their kind. Somebody killed off Lobos. And so, but if they go, oh, you don't have anybody left. Oh, you don't have anybody left. It's going to be Save Martha all over again.
No, but I just meant like something about like Lobo, say, because if you are doing something where Superman, usually they try to make him come out on top, but however you end up doing it, then if you have it where Lobo goes, kick rocks, whatever, I'm out of here. I hear something in regards to Brainiac or something is coming to your planet anyways. I'll just grab him, and then leaves, and Superman's like, I don't know who that is. Like, oh, like I hear the metallic, like some kind of reference to Brainiac. Leaves, and he's like, I'll just be back after the whole world's destroyed anyways to collect it. Or then, like, I could see that where Superman's like, what is this? And then they start doing a lot of research and they go, oh, we see that it's about these people who are taking over races and they're highly intelligent villains or whatever.
But now that I mentioned that about the whole Superman thing and we're talking, I think I would rather not even have it here. Have it full-blown Lobo in outer space, going around collecting bounties and running into different species, running into different issues with the bounties, and having just full-on smart-ass Lobo, the bad guy. I mean, you just make him funny.
That sounds great. The only thing for a movie I'm thinking is like movie production, CGI, being intergalactic, which is very easily doable. But then the other thing is where are we going story-wise? Is he going to have a personal conflict? I don't really see him having a personal conflict, like all of a sudden he's depressed now because of something hit. I just don't see that in a movie. So if he's jumping around planet to planet gathering bounties, what is the trouble? Like, what's the climax, and how does he get through it for the audience?
It pushes him to Earth. It pushes him to Earth, and that starts getting. It just shows him flying into Earth. And
it could probably be him do bounties, and then slowly, and then finally somebody's like, don't get me, get the last Kryptonian. He's like, what? The last Kryptonian? And then they talk Superman up, like, look how good he is, and you could never defeat him. And Lobo's like, watch me. And then
I just see him coming into Earth, and that leads into, and it could be a big culmination. It could be he is fighting a whole bunch of the Justice League. And then Brainiac comes, and Lobo's going to die right alongside him because he's on the planet. And so he has to team up to save his own ass. That's Lobo.
I could see that. Rated R, full-blown movie, get into it. Next Justice League or whatever, you get a team-up of Lobo. That'd be, yeah, I could definitely see that. But we're running on the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So going off of, so, we talked about how I would really like a Nightwing movie. You've talked about the ventriloquist. We talked about Flash. I mean, whether they're going to do it, whether they're not. Real quick touch on that. If they are proceeding with Flash, I mean, what are you wanting it to look like to be proceeded with?
Well, I want it Flashpoint Paradox.
But I mean, like, are you wanting Ezra Miller? Are you thinking, or
They-
wanting them to be replacing, or?
I mean, maybe that's what they're doing right now. Maybe they are digitally replacing him. It's happened before. The technology's there. Maybe that's why it's on hold. They're just like, okay, we're going to take Ezra out because, like I said, they have worked on this and edited it and did screenings and audience reactions and went back and took out sections that people didn't like. We got Michael Keaton in it as Batman. We got all kinds of killer stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, either release it as Ezra Miller and because at this point, I think people are still going to watch it. Not many people are going to go, I'm not going to see it because Ezra Miller's in it. They're going to go see it. It's probably going to be one of the last things that Ezra Miller ever makes unless he gets his life on track. I mean, hell, Robert Downey Jr. He had to he used to be on drugs and stuff. He turned his way around, so.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've seen him in different Fantastic Beasts and other stuff where you actually liked his performance. I think even the Flash. However, I literally cannot think of a single performance that I've ever liked of his. I really do not like his acting or anything. And to me, if I was not a diehard Flash fan, I'm really dying to get a Flash movie, I wouldn't watch it. I don't feel like it is at all going to be good with his acting in it. I just cannot imagine.
So you didn't like him in Justice League?
No, Fantastic Beasts, Justice League. I didn't like it. He in Justice League, the new Zack Snyder one, there was enough comedy and his kind of actions to make it a little bit better, but I still didn't. It didn't scream Flash, the one that I've loved and all that kind of stuff. He did have enough comedy for me to be like, okay, it's a little bit better, but it was not. Yes, let's make a movie. I would have never guessed that they would have made a movie off of that character.
Should they go back through and replace Ezra with the guy from the TV show?
I definitely think so. I mean, he's well established, and you're getting an established voice. You're getting the acting, the mannerisms. I don't feel like that Flash had the mannerisms and stuff of a Justice League Flash. You have Flash that watches over his neighborhood, the world, and he does this brave and bold kind of stuff. You have the Justice League one who's like, "Hey, what you up to? What you trips?" Like you have different ones, and he could be very serious in the moment. And I feel like that actor does a really good job, especially in the very early series of the Flash. He does a really good I'm a superhero. I could be a bit comedic. In the series, he's not super comedic, but I feel like that actor can easily establish it with the right writer, which once again, we're getting back into. I wish James Gunn would be, writing, directing this, giving it that storyline that we need to pop these characters out of the book on the cinematic movie. For us to feel what they're going to, we need to feel a connection with that character to feel bad when they face their challenge and feel great when they're able to overcome it.
Does this mean, that was my big question for tonight, for after we had talked about this stuff, does this new position over DC, does that mean we're done seeing James Gunn written and directed movies? Is that it? He's just going to be, the puppet master saying this is the project, and he's like a executive producer. Are we done with our good James Gunn written and directed by?
I would say no. He's a co-chairman and a CEO. I think that he's not going to have as much hands-on or producer or anything, but I feel like he's going to be at least for the years coming, we need him less of a CEO and everything and more as a producer. But we need him in that power so he can be like, no, this is what we're
Right,
doing.
right.
And so I feel like at least for the first 2 years as DC is going through these change, we need him balls deep in this stuff. We need him to be like, this is the
I agree.
direction we're going with these movies and then the TV shows. This is what we're putting out. This is, here's the story. I approve of it. I don't. We need him in there the first 2 years
I agree.
because the first year is going to be people. I'm going to watch some DC. I'm going to not. It hasn't been good. It's been good. It's getting better. And then the next year is going to be boom. Everyone's going to want to watch his stuff. That's what I'm wanting to see. That
Right.
second year of him being in it and pushing stuff out is going to be a lot of fans watching it, big movie hits, and establishing a following that feels overnight, a 1 year full true following. And really, they need to establish. I mean, I'm not really digging the whole DC being owned on the HBO. I want them to have their own thing. I want DC to have their streaming service, and you get Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, you get series of the Justice League.
I don't think.
I mean, it's not as soon, but I would like to see it happen.
But Disney is losing money so far on the Marvel stuff, man. They're not gaining the new subscribers enough to offset the cost of these things. I meant to grab some of that information the other night for us to discuss because.
But if you think about it, or at least from what I'm thinking, Disney's got a lot of factors that plays into it, but DC, it's just DC. They don't have all this other stuff going in, and he would get to have full control over changing, like it's its own subscription. Like, think about it. Disney has so many Disney and Hulu.
I don't want another
ESPN.
subscription service.
I'm just saying that if I can have a subscription service and maybe it gives me a deal on these animated movies or whatever or something, like, I would subscribe.
They had something like that, dude. And
they had DC Universe, but they didn't have it established. I'm just saying I'd like to see a fully established one, and I think I could possibly see it succeeding, but Marvel and DC's got too many strings and stuff attached. DC would be full-blown DC, and you're not talking about all these bundles with Hulu and ESPN, because my Disney Plus is $2 a month because it's bundled with Hulu and stuff. If
Right.
DC's by itself, or heck, if you are getting deals from Hulu or whatever where they give you a buttload of money, then sure, partner it in. But I'm just saying it'd be nice. I'm not sure if they can, but I would like it where it gives me discount on merch or like also movies for me to buy for my personal collection.
Right.
That I probably don't see because they're like, well, we don't want you to buy the movies. We want you to keep subscribed to our service. But
well, that is bringing us right up to the top of the hour. Was there other quick topics that you had that you have in mind?
The only other thing that I would really like to see, but I haven't put down how I could make it possible, is a Deathstroke movie.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
He's a really big character, a mercenary. You get him in the animated series and everything. But however, every live action Deathstroke I have not seen fulfilled to what I like. He either looks bulky or like, I don't know. It hasn't really been touched the way I like it. And I just know that, like, come on, he's like the best mercenary.
Right.
And I'm just a fan. So
well, and I would
probably
definitely
a series more than a movie, to be honest.
Yeah, that could be badass. Just the different hits he gets and the shit he gets in, and
he's a really easy character to do in a development arc on troubles,
Right.
moral. He won't do children and stuff, so it's
Right.
easy to have. Wait, do I do this? Or I'm not going to do it because of child, but then something changes where he has to do it. But now he's trying to find a way to save the child, but still fulfill the job. And like, I could
Right.
easily see that. And over a 6-story arc, you could have the first episode is just badass, do everything. He's a mercenary. Second one, he does it, but then he leaves his loose tie. He gets a thing. Third one, he contacts the people. Here's the hit or whatever. And he's like, okay, well, I'm planning it out. fourth one, he discovers, hey, you didn't tell me there's a kid in this. No deal. I don't mess with kids.
Right.
And then they tell him, oh, but it's too late. If you don't, we kill the kid or something. And, you know, and then fifth and sixth just be, boom, him enacting the whole plan and kicking ass and everything. And then the sixth one, he finally finds a way to save the kid. And then even maybe end it where, like, he saves the kid, but he dies. Like, you don't have to have him in other things. You could do the series and just
do a one-shot. Yeah. And that's the thing that I hope Gunn brings to the table is, like I said earlier about the ventriloquist and digging deeper into the rogues gallery. You know, the DC has more than the Justice League. There are some really great characters, and you know, look at what Marvel was able to do with, you know, Black Panther, who was popular but just wasn't mainstream popular. People knew the name, but you know, not a lot of people read it. And then, you know, heck, I got the tattoo now and read the comics. Even got a ring somewhere. But yeah, I hope he brings to the table more projects in mind. We get a good Green Lantern movie. We don't see any more movies like Wonder Woman 2. You know, it's got to be consistent. We can't keep having this roller coaster ride because that people don't go to the theater to see a lot of the DC movies because they're like, it's probably going to suck. I'll just wait for the video or until it's on HBO Max. And so we got to have a winning formula. But any final words, my man?
James Gunn, if on the off chance you're watching this, we've said your name enough. Why don't you come join the show and you know, talk to us about some upcoming stuff that you've got planned for DC?
Yep. And for everybody in the audience tonight, you know, we hope you definitely have a happy holiday season. Of course, we'll be having shows throughout the month, but David and I are got some plans in the work. The show is going to be changing up some. And that's stuff that we're going to be discussing and hammering out over the next few weeks. But we are going to start January off with a contest of some sort. I got some swag that we're going to give away starting in January. I wanted to start it before Christmas, but it's just not doable as far as the shipping and all of that and getting the thing set up for the giveaway or the contest. But anyway, so make sure that you keep tuning in. Everybody, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great week. Unfortunately, you know what tomorrow morning is, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, that does it for this episode of Into the GeekVerse. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you want to join us live, hit that bell so you never miss a show. Want to catch us on the go? Listen to our podcast on every major platform, but you can catch the real fun on YouTube. Be sure to visit geekinsider.com for tons of great geek content and advertising opportunities. And if you want to stay up to date on all things geeky, sign up for our newsletter. We'll see you next Sunday at 9 p.m. Central. And if you're not here, we might have to revoke your geek card. Have a great week, everyone.